everyone? It's Charlton. Please subscribe to my channel, tap the notification bell, and like this video. That helps me to keep making videos. I'd appreciate it majorly. So this individual here, Freddie Freddie Gene Mack, um, he was apparently he was completely eaten by all of his dogs. They don't know if the dogs killed him. He had 18 dogs. But he also suffered from serious medical conditions, according to the Johnson County Sheriff's Office. He lives in Venus, Texas, which is about 30 miles southwest of Dallas. And he suffered from serious medical conditions, although they aren't named in the reporting. So they don't know if he died from natural causes and then was eaten by the dogs, or if he was killed by the dogs and then eaten by the dogs. But and he had 18 different dogs. But obviously it's horrible. But the strange thing is they completely devoured him. I mean, they ate almost every aspect of him, to the point where they didn't know where he was. I mean, he was reported missing, and it was being investigated as a missing persons case for several days before they finally figured out, through investigation that that he had been eaten by the dogs. So, and this is actually the missing persons report that's posted on the Johnson County Sheriff's Office Facebook page on the 17th of May. Although he actually, they filed a missing persons report technically on the 10th. For some reason, there's a delay between the time that it became a missing persons case and it got published on the Facebook page. I don't really know, and it was reported by the family, to the police, I think on the 6th. After our investigation from the 6th to the 10th, it became an actual missing persons case. So, and the family's last known contact with the individual was by phone was on April 29th, which is listed in this missing persons report. So he lived by himself, and he was fairly recluse. And I think in the past he had actually broken off contact with his family. So, but in recent years, he had been in contact with his family, and twice a month his family would come by and take him to the store, to help him out, and so they would speak to him at least twice a month and see him twice a month. And that's they hadn't heard from him. They were unable to reach him by phone, and so they got concerned and called the police. But when the police went to the property to investigate, they had a difficult time determining, trying to get onto the property because it had 18 dogs, many of which were extremely aggressive in nature. I mean, at the conclusion of this case, after they figured everything out, and I'll go through some of the details that's listed in this Clyburn Times Review, 13 out of the 18 dogs had to be put down because of the aggressive nature of them. Two of the 18 dogs had been killed by the other dogs, and 3 of the dogs are trying to put up for adoption and relocate. So, I mean, but this went on for a number of days because of the difficulty in investigating the property because of the dogs, like I said. And at some point, one of the detectives noticed like a bone fragment that basically stood out to the detective, and something seemed odd about the bone fragment, causing them to investigate and test it, and then bring in some other medical professionals or anthropologists or something like that from outside the county to help in and to help in testing, etc. So, and it's just unusual when you read through the report how almost all of the individual, including his clothes, were eaten, in entirety, and they only found small bone fragments, even after getting warrants and having the dogs removed to try to locate evidence. They had to move away brush, and they found, I think, one area where there were strips of clothing, as well as in the feces of the dogs, bone fragments and hair, human hair, what they believed to be human hair, and little strips of clothing in the feces. So, but he was, completely gone. It's just crazy. It's obviously awful. So, I don't know if I mentioned this, I think the second or third time I was trying to do this video. They don't know if the dogs killed him or if he suffered from a serious medical condition as well. So they don't know if he died on the property and then was killed. I mean, then eaten by the dogs after the fact, or if the dogs in fact killed him as well as devoured him. So officials on Tuesday said that a Venus man, originally thought to be missing, was consumed by his dogs. The Tarrant County Medical Examiner's Office determined as much through DNA testing, as well as remains and clothing of the victim, Freddie Mack, and that's the individual pictured right there, and there, and actually the Tarrant County. I think Johnson County, Johnson County Sheriff's Department, Sheriff's Office got assistance from Tarrant County, which is near Fort Worth, Texas. Um, and here's Johnson County, where Phoenix, Texas is, where the individual lives. So it says Johnson County Sheriff's Office deputies at 12:24 p.m., May 6, responded to the 1300 block of King Cotton Road in reference to a welfare check on Mack. Family members said that Mack, 57, had not been heard from since April 19th. Family members said the presence of 18 aggressive dogs on the property prevented them from checking the small trailer Mack lived in. Family members told deputies that although Mack was reclusive and had stopped contact with them in the past, he had reestablished contact over the last several years and called family members for rides to the store at least twice a month. Deputies attempted to investigate the property, but also encountered problems from the aggressive dogs. By employing distractions, deputies managed to keep the dogs at bay long enough to search the property, but were unable to locate Mack. This is on the 6th of May. A report was filed and assigned to a detective to follow up. Detectives visited the property on May 9th, 3 days later, but could not gain access because of the dogs. A drone search of the property that day failed to turn up any signs of Mack. Detectives on May 10th entered Mack as a missing person. Detectives interviewed family members and neighbors, contacted hospitals and jails in an attempt to locate Mack, and posted a missing persons flyer on social media, all without success. Detectives began putting food and water over the fence for the dogs on May 11th after family members told them they were unable to feed them. Family members said it was not like Mack to leave his dogs unattended. Detectives returned to the property on May 15th and found a small piece of bone. On May 17th, detectives executed a search warrant for the trailer and shed on the property. During the search, they found a small piece of bone and additional bone fragments on the property. An anthropologist called to the scene, recommended calling the medical examiner to have the bone pieces tested. On May 19th, the dogs were seized to allow for more thorough search of the property. On May 20th, detectives and medical examiner personnel cleared high brush and grass from the property. They found additional bone pieces, strips of cloth, and animal feces containing bone, cloth fragments, and hair suspected to be human. Mack wore a single set of clothing and did not own any other clothes, according to reports. The clothing fragments matched the clothes Mack was known to wear. Detectives sent the bone fragments to the University of North Texas Center for Human Identification Lab for forensic testing and origin identification. Because of the dog's aggressive nature and the fact that evidence indicated that they consumed Mack, 13 of the 16 dogs were put down. Officials noted that 18 dogs were originally found on the property, but that 2 were killed by the other dogs. And the medical examiner's office on Tuesday positively identified the bones as human, and DNA testing identified them as belonging to Mack. And I read another report where it said the 3 remaining dogs are being, they're attempting to have them, relocated and adopted. So, it's just highly unusual, and just never heard of that before, where he was just completely consumed, just about almost entirely. It's very sad, naturally, but that's the story there, man. And that's the property right there. There's just a small little fence. It's not like I don't know which shed, if that's the trailer or if that's the trailer or what. I'm not real sure, but it's a 3.5 acre property, as I understand it, even though it seems like it's a lot smaller. I read 3.5 acres in another report somewhere. All right, man. Well, that's the story there. Thanks for watching my videos. Please subscribe to my channel. Give me a like down below. I will see you in the next video. Later, man.